Let me take it a little further, because I've had some on this channel interviews with Mr. Owaisi, for example, who criticize the Sar Tan Se Juda slogans, but eventually don't act against those people who are going out there and chanting Sar Tan Se Juda. But they also say that the violent reaction by Muslims is a natural reaction to what we are seeing now is a hostile environment in general for Muslims in our country. And this sort of also connects with what is being said about India having taken a more divisive turn. And you have probably read those articles in the Western media, etc., etc. And of course, a large number of self-proclaimed liberal in India who say this, that there is now a greater disregard in India for Muslim sentiments, for Muslims in general. What do you say to this group of people? Some of them are quite respectable as far as intellectuals are concerned.
You see, it is not that that this is something which has suddenly appeared today. When Mahatma Gandhi was leading the country, when Jawaharlal Nehru was leading the country, when Sardar Patel was in the picture, when Abdul Kalam Azad was there, what happened? At that time, there was no question of national or Hindu program against the Muslims. Why did the Muslims behave the way they did from 1920s, 1937, 1940, 1947? So it is not that the Muslims react, they also proactively work to further the Islamic agenda. That is the natural drive of the Muslims. They don't want any resistance. They don't want any objection. They don't want somebody to say what you are doing is wrong. If you say what you are doing is wrong, that's a provocation. That means they cannot face criticism. The most important thing is Islamic theology brooks no criticism from within or out. That is why even those Muslims who slightly deviate from Islam are being put to death. You know what is happening between Shias and Sunnis. You know what is happening to Ahmadiyas. So don't think that Islam only reacts. It is very proactive, and that is what resulted in the creation of Pakistan. Otherwise, Mahatma Gandhi was an enemy of Muslims. Jawaharlal Nehru was an enemy of Muslims. It's completely wrong to contextualize the what is known as the Muslim anger, part of which is, according to me, the media creation, to the ruling disposition today. Is completely wrong. The fact is, the real fact is that Hindus suffer from the paradox of tolerance. You see, it is a great tolerant tradition that this country has built over thousands of years. And this tolerance is facing intolerance for the last 2,000 years. When the tolerance keeps on tolerating the intolerant, a situation comes when the tolerant itself is a danger. This is what Karl Popper said in 1945 as the paradox of tolerance. The Hindus are facing the paradox of tolerance for the last several centuries. And because of democracy, because of the explosion of media, this tolerant aspect has been cast aside. And the intolerant aspect has been projected as only a reaction. Completely wrong. Where are these intellectuals who will speak about what happened in 1920s, 30s, 40s? There was no Modi then. There was no BJP then. My view is this discourse has to be more deep-rooted. It cannot be based on newspaper headlines. It cannot be based on Twitter. It cannot be based on one or two incidents. It has to take a broad historical view from when Ghazni Muhammad invaded India, when temples were demolished. I think we have got to take a broad historical view as to what is the behavior of who. Then we will know who is proactively intolerant and who is resisting that intolerance. Resisting intolerance is called intolerance today. This is precisely what Karl Popper said as the paradox of tolerance.
So, Mr. Gurumurthy, I presume we are drawing a distinction. When you say Muslims, you are drawing a distinction between the ordinary Muslim citizen of this country and those that are politically realized Muslims who are furthering perhaps political Islam.
100%.
Yes. So we are not conflating the entire community here. We are
100%.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Not at all. I am only talking about the theological impact. And the theological impact and the theological exposition is driven by a very small percentage of people who have in their hold a very substantial number of people. And the others cannot but go by what they say. This is the hierarchy of opinion making in Islam.